He promised to stay away forever. But when he saw her marrying another man, he broke every rule. The church in Manhattan was full. Gold light, polished benches, the scent of white roses. Two powerful Italian-American families sitting on opposite sides, pretending this was just a wedding and not also a business union. The priest had just opened his mouth to bless the couple. Then the doors opened with a heavy sound. Every head turned. Matteo Moretti walked in like he owned the place. Dark suit, black tie, hair slicked back, eyes focused straight ahead. 6 men in suits followed him, spaced, alert, hands close to their jackets, not street thugs. Trained, organized. The kind of men you only see around a boss. People started whispering. Someone in the back said his name. Moretti. On the altar, Isabella Rossi froze. She was beautiful in a simple, elegant wedding dress, hair up, veil draped behind her shoulders, bouquet in hand. She had been walking toward another man. Now her past had walked in. Matteo didn't stop in the middle of the church to look around. He didn't apologize. He didn't explain. He just spoke, voice steady, carrying through the whole place. I won't let you marry him, Isabella. Gasps. A woman covered her mouth. One of Luca's cousins stood up from the front row. The Rossi security detail, sitting by the walls, immediately tensed. On the altar, Luca De Luca took a step forward. Expensive suit, good family, good reputation. He had been about to marry an alliance. Now he was watching a man break into his wedding and claim his bride in front of everyone. What is this, Moretti? Luca asked, fists already curling. You're out of line. Matteo didn't even look at him. His eyes were on Isabella. She looked like she couldn't breathe. Tell me no, Matteo said, still from the center aisle. Look at me and tell me you don't want me here. Her lips parted, but nothing came out. That was enough for everyone in the room to understand. This wasn't random. This wasn't about business. This was personal. Vincenzo Rossi, Isabella's father, shot up from the front row. Matteo, this is a sacred place. You have no right. Matteo finally looked around, jaw tight. You were really going to marry her off without telling me? You disappeared, Vincenzo snapped. You left her. You left all of us. You don't get to come back when the deal is made. Matteo's eyes went back to Isabella, softer, hurt. I didn't leave her. That made Isabella flinch. Luca stepped down from the altar. You're not taking her anywhere. Matteo tilted his head slightly. You're a good man, De Luca. But you're not her man. That was the last calm second. One of the De Luca guards moved his hand toward his gun. Ethan Cole, standing behind Matteo on the left, reacted first. Weapon, he warned, voice sharp. The entire church erupted. Security from both families jumped to their feet. Someone shouted, "Guns down!" Another shouted, "Protect the bride!" The priest ducked. A shot rang out, shattering one of the tall, stained glass windows. People screamed. Guests dropped behind the pews. A child cried. Flower petals fell to the floor. Matteo didn't flinch. "Smoke," he said. One of his men tossed a small canister toward the back. Thick white smoke spread fast, filling the rear of the church, cutting visibility. It was enough to confuse, not enough to kill. They hadn't come to start a massacre. They had come to take one woman. "Isabella," Matteo called, moving now, fast, straight for the aisle. "Come with me." She backed away on instinct. "Matteo, stop. You can't." Two of Luca's men stepped in front of her to shield her. Ethan took them down without shooting. Quick strikes, close range, pushing them aside. "No one hurts the bride," he said dryly. Luca tried to grab Isabella's arm to pull her behind him. Matteo reached them at the same time. For one tense second, the three of them were there at the altar. Present fiancé, past lover, and the woman in the middle. "Let her go, Luca," Matteo said. "She's my wife," Luca spat. "She was mine first." Isabella's voice finally cut through. "I wasn't anyone's. You both left me to decide alone." And that was the truth that hurt all three. More shots outside. Someone from the Rossi side yelled that the cars had been surrounded. Matteo's men answered with controlled fire from the doors, keeping the way open. Matteo grabbed Isabella, pulling her gently but firmly toward him. I will explain. Not here. She struggled. This is madness, Matteo. You can't just steal me from my wedding. He looked her straight in the eyes. Watch me. He wrapped an arm around her waist so she wouldn't fall, turned, and started moving her down the side aisle. Ethan and 2 more men formed a shield in front of them. 2 stayed behind to slow down Luca's security. People tried to grab Isabella's dress. Matteo pushed through. Don't shoot inside the church, someone yelled from the Rossi side. Then stop him, someone from the De Luca side shouted back. No one stopped him. They burst through a side door that led to the service corridor. The noise of the church faded behind them. Now it was just footsteps, rushed breathing, orders on earpieces. Status, Matteo said. Car's ready, Ethan answered. 1 tail outside. Move. They exited into the back alley of the church. 3 black SUVs waited with engines on, doors open. 2 more men were positioned behind them with rifles, blocking the street from the incoming cars of the De Luca security. Get her in, Ethan shouted. I can walk, Isabella said, angry. I know. Matteo lifted her anyway and put her in the middle seat of the second SUV. He got in right after her and slammed the door. Go. The driver hit the gas. The convoy rolled out fast, tires screeching, the other SUVs covering them. Bullets hit the armored panels. One of Matteo's rear cars shot back, but always low, always to disable, never to kill. He didn't want to start a full war, not yet. Inside the SUV, Isabella's chest was heaving. Her veil was tilted, hair coming loose, makeup slightly smudged. But she was still the most beautiful woman Matteo had ever seen. You have completely lost your mind, she said, voice shaking with anger. Matteo turned to her, eyes still alert, watching the windows. I'm not letting you marry a man you don't love. I said yes to him. You said yes because you thought I was gone. She laughed, but it came out broken. You were gone. Ethan's voice came from the front. 2 cars behind us, but they're losing us. We're 5 minutes from the airstrip. Matteo nodded. Keep it clean. Isabella stared at him. Do you have any idea what you just did? You humiliated my father. You humiliated Luca's family. They will come after you. They can line up, Matteo said. I'll deal with them. And me? She asked. Did you think about me? He looked at her then. Really looked. You were walking to a life you didn't want. I thought about that. She shook her head, tears finally building. You can't decide for me again. I'm not deciding, he said. I'm undoing something I should never have allowed. She stared at him, stunned. Allowed? Yes, he said quietly. Allowed. The SUVs made a sharp turn. Sirens wailed in the distance, but not close enough to matter. The airstrip Matteo used for private flights was on secured property. He had called ahead. The jet was ready. You hurt me, Matteo, Isabella said suddenly, voice lower now, the anger turning into something softer and deeper. You walked away and never told me why. His jaw clenched. He looked out the window, avoiding her eyes. This is not the place to talk about that. No, she said. This is exactly the place, because you just pulled me out of a church with guns. You don't get to say not now. He looked back at her, even angry, even crying. She was still the girl he had wanted to protect years ago. I left because I had to, he said, not because I stopped loving you. Her eyes flickered. Then why didn't you come back? He didn't answer. The SUV slowed. The gate to the private hangar opened. The white jet was already on the tarmac, engines running, stairs down. Ethan turned back. All clear. We move. The door opened. Cool air rushed in. One of Matteo's men ran up to cover Isabella as she got out. Another covered the rear. She stopped at the bottom of the jet stairs and looked back toward the city. Sirens in the distance, smoke from somewhere near the church. Her father would be furious. Luca's family would be furious. You're starting a war, she said. I'm preventing one, Matteo said, or at least directing it. You don't get to talk like you're the hero. I never said I was. He took her hand. He didn't yank. He didn't force. He just held. After a second, she let him guide her up the stairs. Inside, the jet was wide, clean, luxurious. Leather seats, small bar, windows showing the runway. It was his world. Controlled, expensive, safe. Isabella stood in the middle, still in her wedding dress, looking so out of place, it hurt. "This is kidnapping," she said. "This is protection," he corrected. "From who? My own family? From everyone who thinks you're a deal to fix." She stared at him. "You think Luca is like that?" Matteo sat across from her as the door closed. "Luca wants to fix the humiliation now. Your father wants to fix it now. The easiest way is to get you back and pretend today didn't happen. I don't trust what they'll do to make that happen." The jet started to move. Isabella sat slowly, the dress spreading around her. Her voice was small when she asked, "Where are you taking me?" "Monaco." She looked at him like he was crazy again. "Matteo, that's another country." "That's the point. You can't hide me there forever." "I don't need forever," he said. "I need time." She swallowed. "Time for what?" He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, eyes on her. "To tell you what really happened, and to make you remember what we had." She looked away to the window. The runway lights were passing faster and faster. "You're too late, Matteo," she whispered. "I was at the altar." The jet lifted off. Matteo didn't raise his voice. "Then I guess I have to show you I'm not." He let that hang between them, heavy, unfinished, and she realized, sitting there in a wedding dress on the man's private jet, that he had crossed a church full of armed men for her, and he was still saying there was more she didn't know. The jet cut through the clouds like a silver blade. Outside, the night over the Atlantic looked endless. Inside, silence pressed against the walls. Isabella sat by the window, her wedding dress wrinkled, her hands clenched around the edge of the seat. She hadn't moved since takeoff. Every few seconds, she'd glance at Matteo sitting across from her, elbows on his knees, looking out the window like he was watching ghosts. Neither spoke for almost an hour. Finally, she broke. "Say something." He didn't move. "Like what?" "Like why you're doing this. Why you thought destroying my wedding was the right thing to do." Matteo turned his head, eyes darker than the sky outside. "Because you were marrying a man you don't love. Love isn't everything. It was for us." She shook her head. "No. If it had been, you wouldn't have left me." He sat back slowly, jaw tightening. "I left because staying would have gotten you killed." Her laugh came sharp. "That's what you tell yourself." "It's what's true." Isabella looked at him for a long time. "You don't get to ruin my life twice, Matteo. You already did it once." His voice softened. "You think this is about ruining you. It's about saving you." "From what? A good man? A family that finally accepted me after you?" He cut in, calm but firm. "After I took the bullet meant for your father?" Her breath caught. "What?" He leaned forward, lowering his voice. "You never asked why I vanished." "That night at the Rossi estate. You remember? The party for your engagement announcement? The first time I met your father officially?" "Yes," she said, confused. "You left that night. You didn't even say goodbye." "I left because there was a threat against your family. I confronted the men responsible. I ended up in a hospital under a different name. When I came back, you were gone, and your father told me to stay away if I wanted peace between our families." She blinked, trying to process. "That's impossible. My father would never—" "He would if it meant protecting you. He told me you'd be safer without me. That's all I needed to hear." Her throat tightened. "You believed him instead of me. I believed I was poison to you." She looked down, silent. The plane hummed. For a while, only the soft rumble of the engines filled the space between them. Then she said quietly, "You still could have come back. I tried. You wouldn't take my calls. I never got them." They stared at each other, realizing how much of their pain had come from silence instead of words. Matteo stood, loosened his tie, and poured 2 glasses of water. He handed one to her. "Drink." You're shaking." She didn't touch it. "You always act like you know what's best for me." "I act when others hesitate." "I didn't ask you to act." "You didn't have to." She glared at him. "You think that's romantic?" "I think it's survival." The pilot's voice broke the tension. "We'll be landing in Monaco in 40 minutes, sir." "Copy that," Matteo said, then turned to Isabella again. "After we land, you'll rest. We'll talk tomorrow. I'm not staying with you. You don't have a choice until I know you're safe." She leaned back, staring at him with all the anger she had left. "You've already decided that for me, too." When the jet landed, dawn was spreading over the Riviera. The air smelled of salt and expensive freedom. A convoy waited on the tarmac. Black cars, quiet men in sunglasses. No chaos here, just control. Matteo guided her toward the main car. She didn't resist, but her eyes burned. "I should hate you," she said. He gave a small, tired smile. That would be easier. They drove through the narrow streets of Monaco until they reached a private villa built on the cliffside. White walls, glass balconies, view of the sea, guards posted discreetly near the gates. Inside, the place felt like him. Sharp, clean, dangerous. Isabella stopped at the door of the guest suite. "How many women have you hidden here?" He looked at her. "None." "Of course, just me." He didn't deny it. A maid entered quietly, leaving a silk robe and some clothes on the bed. Isabella looked down at her wedding dress, torn at the bottom. "Can I at least get out of this?" Matteo turned toward the door. "Take your time." When he left, she sank to the edge of the bed and finally let out the sob she'd been holding since the church. The weight of the day pressed against her chest, the vows she didn't make, the family she betrayed, the man who wouldn't let her go. But beneath all the confusion, there was something else. Relief. And that scared her more than anything. Hours later, she walked into the main living room wearing the robe, hair loose, face clean. Matteo was by the window, phone in hand, speaking quietly in Italian. When he saw her, he ended the call. "You look human again." "Don't." He nodded once, taking the hit. "Hungry?" "I couldn't eat if I tried." He walked to the bar, poured himself a whiskey, and leaned against the counter. "Your father's people called me. They're furious." "I'm sure. They'll calm down when they realize you're fine." "Fine?" She crossed her arms. "You dragged me out under gunfire." "You call that fine? No one was hit. That's not the point. It's the only point that keeps me breathing." She looked at him, trying to read him. "You're not afraid of them, are you?" He sipped the whiskey. "Fear keeps people alive, but I don't let it decide for me." She shook her head. "You haven't changed." He met her eyes. "Neither have you. You still cry when you're angry." Her jaw tightened. "Stop pretending you still know me." He took a step closer, slow, careful. "I never stopped knowing you." "Don't," she warned, but her voice trembled. He stopped right in front of her. "Tell me you don't feel anything." "I don't." Her voice cracked. He brushed his fingers along her wrist, barely a touch, but enough to make her breath catch. "You're lying," he said softly. "You always were a terrible liar." She stepped back fast. "You left me in pieces, Matteo. Don't touch me like I still belong to you." He nodded once. "Fair." He set the glass down and walked away. But before disappearing down the hall, he said, "Dinner at 8. Eat something. You'll need your strength." "For what?" He turned slightly. "For the truth." That night she couldn't sleep. Every sound, the sea against the cliffs, footsteps in the hall, kept her awake. She walked out to the balcony. Below, the guards moved like shadows. Matteo's world was built on control. And she realized, if anyone could protect her, it was him. The question was, from who? When she went back inside, her phone was on the nightstand. The signal was weak, but a message had come through from an unknown number. "You're safe for now, but he lied to you then, and he's lying now. L." Her stomach dropped. "Luca." She typed quickly. "Stay away. Don't make this worse." Seconds later, another message appeared. "He's hiding something. Ask him what happened to Marco." She frowned. Marco. The name hit a nerve. Matteo's cousin. the one who disappeared the night everything ended. Before she could think more, there was a knock at the door. Matteo's voice, calm. "Isabella, can we talk?" She hid the phone under the pillow. "Now?" "It can't wait." She opened the door halfway. He stood there barefoot, shirt sleeves rolled up, eyes tired but sharp. He looked less like a Mafia boss and more like the man she had loved once. The man who used to bring her coffee at dawn after sleepless nights. He studied her face. "You've been crying again. Don't start. Then stop hurting." She looked up at him. "You can't fix me, Matteo." He shook his head. "I'm not trying to fix you. I'm trying to tell you the truth." "About what?" He hesitated. For the first time since the church he seemed uncertain. "About why Marco disappeared, and why I couldn't tell you the truth until now." Her pulse quickened. "You mean your cousin?" He nodded slowly. "He was working for someone he shouldn't have. Someone inside your family." She froze. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying," he said quietly, "that the man who tried to have me killed that night wasn't a stranger. He was working for your father." She stared at him, unable to breathe. "My father would never. He would if he thought I was a threat to the Rossi Empire. And he wasn't wrong. I was a threat, but not to the business, to the control he had over you." Her chest rose and fell fast. "You're lying." "I wish I was." She backed away, shaking her head. "No, he loves me. He would never hurt you." Matteo stepped closer, voice still calm. "He didn't want me dead for fun. He wanted you safe. But the man he hired went too far. I found out. Marco tried to stop him. He died for it." The room felt smaller, colder. Isabella pressed a hand to her chest, trying to steady her breathing. "You should have told me." "I couldn't," he said. "If I did, he would have finished what he started." She looked up, eyes wet. "And now?" "Now," he said, "you need to decide who you trust." The wind outside picked up, shaking the curtains. She stood there, wedding ring still on her finger, staring at the man who had just destroyed her wedding and her certainty all in one day. For the first time, she didn't know if Matteo was saving her, or rewriting history to keep her close. He looked at her for a long moment before turning toward the door. "Get some sleep," he said quietly. "Tomorrow I'll show you proof." When he left, she sank back against the wall, heart pounding, the words "ask him what happened to Marco" echoing in her mind. She realized she wasn't ready to hear the answer. Morning in Monaco didn't feel like morning in New York. The light was softer, the air smelled like the sea, and nothing seemed urgent. But inside Matteo Moretti's villa, everything was urgent. He was already awake when the sun hit the glass walls. Ethan came in with a tablet and a tight expression. "New York is loud." "How loud?" Matteo asked, still looking out at the water. Rossi and DeLuca both gave statements to their people. They're calling it a temporary misunderstanding. "So they're embarrassed?" "Very." Matteo nodded. "That makes them dangerous." Ethan tapped the screen. "Two things you should see. First, they're trying to find your jet route. Second, someone leaked footage from the church. Only a short clip, but enough. Of me taking her. Of you saying, 'I won't let you marry him.'" Matteo almost smiled. "Let them watch." "It's not them I'm worried about," Ethan said. "It's the ones who'll want to fix it with bullets." Matteo finally turned. "Any movement toward Europe?" "Not yet, but it's early. Keep the perimeter tight. No one in or out without your eyes on it." Ethan nodded, then hesitated. "And her?" Matteo looked toward the hallway where Isabella's room was. "She stays. She listens. And she finally learns what was kept from her." "You're sure telling her about Marco is smart?" "I'm sure lying to her again isn't." Ethan gave a short, respectful nod. "I'll have the files ready." Isabella woke up from a sleep that didn't rest her. Her dreams had mixed church bells, gunshots, Matteo's voice, and her father's face. When she opened her eyes, she didn't recognize the ceiling. For a brief second, she thought she was still in New York, still a bride. Then the sea hit her ears. Monaco, Matteo, kidnapped. She sat up, ran a hand through her hair, and remembered the message from Luca. He's hiding something. Ask him what happened to Marco. And then Matteo's words. He died for it. She didn't know who to believe. She showered, dressed in the clothes they'd left for her. Simple, elegant, neutral. It felt like Matteo had chosen them on purpose. Nothing that looked like a bride. Nothing that looked like she belonged to another man. When she walked into the main room, Matteo was waiting at the table with coffee, fruit, and files. "Sit," he said. "I'm not a hostage. You're not being treated like one." She stayed standing. "Show me the proof." He didn't get offended. He just opened one of the folders and spun it toward her. "This is the report from the night I disappeared." She looked down. Photos, medical notes, timestamps. A blurred photo of Matteo on a stretcher, blood on his shoulder. "You were shot," she whispered. "Yes. You never told me. You were supposed to think I walked away." "Why?" He looked straight at her. "Because your father told me if I didn't, they'd aim at you next." She stared at the paper, then at him. "My father would never let someone shoot me." "He wouldn't," Matteo agreed. "But he would let someone shoot me if he thought I was pulling you into a war." She sank into the chair slowly, the weight of it all finally settling. "He said you were trouble." "I was." "He said you chose the streets." "I did." "He said you chose your money." "I did that too." Her eyes lifted to his. "But you didn't choose me." He didn't look away. "I did. That's why I left." That silenced her. Because twisted as it was, it made sense. If her father had said she'd be safer without Matteo, Matteo would have taken the hit. He always had that stupid instinct to carry everything alone. Isabella flipped through the file. "Where does Marco fit into this?" Matteo's jaw flexed. "He got close to the man hired to get rid of me. He tried to turn him. It went bad. You said he died." "He did." She swallowed hard. "And you think someone from my family ordered that?" "I don't think," Matteo said. "I know." The room went still. She pushed the file away. "You realize what you're saying, right? You're accusing my father of playing both sides. I'm saying he protected you in the only way he trusted. He could have told me. He thought you'd run to me if he did." She stood. "Because I would." He smiled a little, sad. "Exactly." Before she could answer, Ethan walked in again, this time without knocking. "We have a problem." Matteo straightened immediately. "What kind?" "Drone flyover. Small, not military. Someone's trying to confirm she's here." Isabella turned pale. "They found us?" "Not yet," Ethan said. "But someone is looking, and they knew where to look." Matteo looked at Isabella. "Who did you talk to last night?" Her eyes widened. "No one." He held her gaze. She hesitated. "Luca texted me." Both men went still. Matteo's voice dropped. "What did he say?" "He said you were hiding something. He told me to ask about Marco." "That's it?" "That's it." Matteo's eyes flicked to Ethan. "Cut her phone. Nothing in or out unless we trace it." Ethan nodded. "On it." Isabella bristled. "You can't just—" "I can," Matteo said. "They're tracking you through whatever they can. I won't make it easy." She glared. "So now I'm a prisoner." "You're alive." "That's not the same." "For me it is." He moved to the window, watching the road below. "They'll try the sea next," he said, "or the service road." Ethan nodded. "I'll double it." When Ethan left, Isabella turned on Matteo. "If you knew they'd come, why bring me here?" "Because here, I control the field. You controlled the church, too." "I controlled the exit," he corrected. "This is different." She crossed her arms. "So what now? I sit here while two Mafia families decide who gets to own me." He turned, eyes hard. "No one owns you. That's why we're here." She gave a humorless laugh. "You kidnapped me, Matteo. I took you away from a contract. It was a marriage. It was a trade." The words hit her, because deep down she knew it. Her father had been too eager. Luca had been too accepting. It had been convenient, clean, strong. but not romantic. Not like this. She sank back into the chair. What happens in New York now? Your father will demand you back. Luca's family will demand compensation. Both will try to make it look like I acted alone. You didn't. I did. But they don't need to know I'd do it again. Her eyes softened. You really would, wouldn't you? He didn't even think. Yes. Hours passed like that. Calls, surveillance, tension. Isabella wandered through the villa, memorizing exits, memorizing the view. She found a room with pictures of the Mediterranean, some old boxing gloves, a piano no one played. She also found a framed photo of Matteo with Marco, younger, laughing, arms around each other. So he hadn't lied about that. She held the frame for a moment, then put it back exactly where it was. When she walked back to the living room, Matteo was alone, sitting on the sofa, head leaning back, eyes closed. She stopped at the doorway. You look tired. He opened his eyes slowly. I am. You didn't sleep? I had to make sure no one was about to storm my house. She walked in, slower now. Why didn't you ever tell me about this part of your life? I did. No, she said. You told me about the money, about the clubs, about the real estate. You didn't tell me about the guns. You said you didn't want details. I didn't want lies. He sat up. I never lied about who I am. You lied about why you left. I omitted. That's a lie. He almost smiled. You always argued like this. You always gave me a reason to. They were closer now than either intended. She could see the stubble on his jaw, the faint scar near his temple, the tired lines that hadn't been there years ago. This man had fought for her today, but he had also hurt her years ago. Matteo, she said softly, why didn't you fight for me back then? He looked at her like the answer hurt. Because back then your father would have taken you from me and you would have hated me for killing him. The room went quiet. Because again, twisted as it was, that made sense. She swallowed. And now? Now, he said, I'm not letting you go. Before she could answer, glass shattered. It was small. One of the outer windows on the lower level. Then a second noise. Boots. Ethan's voice exploded through the comms. Contact. East side. 3 men, maybe 4. Non-local accents. Matteo was on his feet in a second. Get her to the safe room. Isabella jumped. What's happening? They came faster than I thought, Matteo said, grabbing her arm. Not rough, but strong. Move! He pulled her down the hallway as guards rushed past them toward the sound. She could hear it now. Shouts in another language, the click of weapons, the dull thud of bodies. Are they from New York? She asked, breathless. No, Matteo said. Which means someone paid outside help. They turned a corner. Matteo pressed his palm to a panel on the wall. A door slid open, revealing a reinforced room with monitors, water, medical kit. In, he said. She hesitated. What about you? He looked at her like that was the dumbest question she'd ever asked. I'm going to stop them. You can't go out there. I can. It's my house. She grabbed his wrist. Matteo. He paused. Be careful. Something warm flashed in his eyes. He pulled her closer just for a second, hand on her cheek. I told you. I'm not losing you again. Then he was gone. The door sealed. Isabella stood there, heart pounding, watching the monitors. She saw Matteo move through the hall with lethal certainty, saw Ethan join him, saw 2 intruders being taken down fast. No one fired wildly, no one panicked. This was routine for them. That scared her more than the attack, because this was his world. And if she loved him again, she would be loving this too. After a few minutes, the noise died down. The door opened. Matteo came back, a small cut on his arm, breathing a little harder. It's over, he said. They were testing us. Testing? To see if you were really here. Who sent them? He looked at her, eyes dark again. Someone who got your location this morning. Her blood ran cold. You think it was Luca? I think Luca wouldn't be that stupid. He knows I'd send him the bodies. Then who? He glanced toward the window, toward the sea, toward the invisible line between his world and theirs. "We're going to find out," he said. "But one thing is clear now." "What?" "They know you're with me." He stepped closer, voice lowering like a promise and a threat at the same time. "And they won't stop until they take you back." By noon, the villa looked peaceful again, too peaceful for what had just happened. Guards cleaned up the mess quickly. Bullet holes were patched, the broken glass replaced. From the outside, it looked like nothing had ever happened. But inside, the air was heavier, full of things left unsaid. Isabella stood on the balcony, watching the sea glitter under the sun. She wasn't thinking about beauty. She was thinking about danger. Matteo came out behind her, rolling down his sleeves. His arm was bandaged from the small cut he'd gotten during the attack. "You shouldn't be out here." She didn't turn. "Why? Is the sea dangerous now too?" He leaned on the railing next to her. "Depends who's watching from the boats." Her stomach twisted. "You really think they're still looking?" "I know they are." She finally turned to face him. "Who were those men?" "Mercenaries, paid to test the security." "By who?" He studied her for a moment. "You don't want to believe the answer." "Try me." He sighed. "DeLuca's uncle, Anthony." She frowned. "I met him once. He barely spoke." "He doesn't need to talk to pull a trigger." "Why would he?" "To clean up Luca's humiliation. You leaving the church made them lose face. In their world, the easiest way to erase shame is blood." Her voice dropped. "My blood." He nodded once. "Or mine. Either works for them." She crossed her arms, trying to hide the shiver. "You said no one would find us here." "I said I'd keep you alive if they did." "That's not comforting." "It's the truth." He stepped closer. "And you're still alive, aren't you?" She glared. "Because you turned my wedding into a war zone. Because I didn't let them own you. Stop saying that like I'm property. You're not," he said softly. "That's the point." They stood in silence for a moment, the wind pulling at her hair. Then she asked quietly, "Did you kill them? The men who broke in?" "Yes." "No, but they'll wish I had." "Do you ever regret what you are?" she asked. He looked at her like the question was foreign. "Regret doesn't change what's already written." "Maybe not," she said, "but it can stop you from writing the same thing again." Something flickered in his expression, admiration, maybe pain. "You sound like you want to save me." "I don't," she said. "I just don't want to watch you drown." He smiled faintly. "Too late for that." Later that afternoon, Ethan entered with a phone in hand. "It's your father." Matteo raised an eyebrow. "He knows this line?" "He does now." Isabella stepped forward. "Let me talk to him." Matteo hesitated, then nodded, putting the call on speaker. Vincenzo Rossi's voice came through, deep and angry. "Matteo Moretti, you've crossed every line." Matteo kept his tone even. "Good to hear your voice, too. You think you can hide in Monaco forever? I think I can stay alive long enough to make you listen. You kidnapped my daughter. I saved her from a deal you made behind her back. She was doing her duty. She was paying for your mistakes." The silence that followed was sharp enough to cut glass. "Put her on," Vincenzo ordered. Isabella stepped closer. "I'm here, Papa." "Are you hurt?" "No." "Good. Then listen to me. You will return home immediately. You'll make a statement saying you were confused, that Moretti manipulated you." She froze. "What?" "You'll say he threatened you." "That's not true." "It doesn't have to be true. It has to fix this." She felt her stomach turn. "You want me to lie?" "I want to save you." "Save me?" she repeated, voice breaking. "You're worried about the family name, not me. Don't speak to me like that." "You're proving him right," she shouted. "You don't care who I marry, as long as it's convenient." Matteo didn't move, but his eyes softened. He could tell this was the first time she had ever yelled at her father. "Enough," Vincenzo said coldly. "You will return home." "No," she said, surprising even herself. "I won't." The line went silent for a few seconds. Then he said, low and deadly, "You think that man can protect you from everyone? Wait until he can't. The call ended. The room felt colder. Matteo looked at her. Now you see. She took a shaky breath. He didn't even ask if I was scared, just angry. Anger is easier than guilt. She turned away, whispering, He really hates you. No, Matteo said quietly. He hates that you love me. Night fell again over the coast. The villa glowed with warm light, but neither of them felt calm. Isabella sat on the couch, staring at the phone. Matteo was across the room, watching security footage. Both silent, both thinking. Finally, she said, What happens now? He didn't look up. We wait for their next move. And if they come again, then I remind them why they used to fear my name. That's not a plan. It's a promise. She stood and walked over to him. And what if I told you I don't want this? The guns, the hiding, the blood. I just want my life back. You can't go back, he said. They'd turn you into something you're not. And staying with you turns me into what? He finally looked at her. Mine. Her breath caught. That's not love, Matteo. No, he said. That's truth. Love comes after you survive. Later, she found herself walking through the quiet halls, unable to sleep. She stopped by his office, the door slightly open. Matteo was inside, sitting behind the desk, head in his hands. Not the boss, not the man who barked orders, just a man carrying too much. She pushed the door open. Matteo. He looked up, surprised. You should be resting. I can't. He stood. What is it? She hesitated. When you left years ago, was it really just my father's threat? He nodded. Mostly. Mostly. He sighed, walking closer. I also didn't think I was good enough for you. She blinked. That's ridiculous. It's reality. You came from old money. I came from streets that smelled like gasoline and blood. Loving you was the only clean thing I had. Her eyes softened. And you threw it away. I buried it, he said, so no one could hurt it. Something inside her cracked. She stepped closer. And what about now? Now, he whispered. Now I can't bury it anymore. They were inches apart. She could feel his breath on her skin, smell the faint trace of whiskey and danger that always followed him. Matteo, she warned softly. He didn't touch her. Say you don't feel it. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Because she did. Every heartbeat screamed it. He smiled faintly, almost sad. That's what I thought. The next morning, Ethan entered with a grim look. We traced the leak. Matteo straightened. Who? Anthony DeLuca. He hired the team from Marseille, and he's planning another strike. When? Within 48 hours. Matteo nodded slowly. Then we end it before it starts. How? Ethan asked. We take the fight to them. Isabella stepped into the room. What does that mean? Matteo turned to her. It means we're not hiding anymore. Matteo, that's suicide. It's strategy. They expect fear, not movement. She crossed her arms. You're going to kill him? If that's what it takes to make them stop. Her voice rose. You promised no more blood. I promised you'd be safe. At what cost? He stared at her for a long time. You still don't understand how our world works. Maybe I don't want to. He took a slow breath. You think you can walk away clean, but once you're part of this, you either own it or it owns you. Then I'll burn it down. He gave a small, bitter laugh. You sound like me. That night, they stood outside on the balcony again. Below, the sea shimmered. Above, the stars looked too calm for what was coming. She looked at him quietly. You know they'll never forgive you. I don't need forgiveness. What do you need? He turned to her. You. She swallowed. And if loving you means losing everything, then you finally know what it felt like to be me. He reached out, brushed a strand of hair from her face, and for the first time, she didn't pull away. The world outside was full of danger, but here, in the quiet between storms, there was something else. Something that felt like peace. She closed her eyes for a moment. What happens if we don't make it? He smiled faintly. Then they'll remember that we tried. A gunshot echoed in the distance, faint but real. They both froze. Ethan's voice came from inside, urgent. Movement at the east gate. Mateo's eyes sharpened. It's starting. He turned to Isabella. Stay inside. Mateo. He kissed her forehead once, quick, protective. They want you back, he said, but not because they love you. Then he grabbed his weapon and disappeared into the hall, leaving her standing there under the moonlight, realizing the war had truly begun. Gunfire in Monaco didn't sound like in New York. It was sharper, faster, over too quick. But Isabella still heard it like thunder. She ran from the balcony to the hallway. Mateo! 2 guards stopped her. Stay back, ma'am. Don't call me ma'am, she snapped. Where is he? Securing the gate. More shots, shouts in 2 languages, boots on stone. She pushed past them anyway. She wasn't the same girl from the church anymore, crying in a dress. She had seen men come to kill her now. She had seen Mateo bleed for her. She had heard her father choose reputation over her happiness. She wasn't going to wait quietly again. She reached the lower level just in time to see Mateo and Ethan coming in from the terrace, both with weapons drawn, both breathing hard. Mateo's shirt was open at the collar, a smear of dust on his jaw. He looked furious. Isabella, he said, seeing her. I told you to stay upstairs. Did they get in? Not far. Ethan threw a captured phone on the table. Same pattern as this morning. Hired, fed a location. Mateo's eyes narrowed. From where? From here, Ethan said. From someone who knows your schedules. Isabella stared. From inside? From inside one of the families, Ethan corrected. But yeah, this was an inside job. Mateo looked at Isabella, then at the phone. Trace it. Ethan was already on it. Working. Isabella's heart pounded. You said it was Anthony. It is, Mateo said. But he's not acting alone. Who else would? The phone pinged. Ethan's eyes flicked up. Got it. Who? Mateo asked. Ethan hesitated. You're not going to like it. Say it. It came from New York, from a number registered to the Rossi household. Isabella felt the floor tilt. No. Ethan looked at her, sympathetic. It wasn't your father. Then who? She whispered. Mateo's jaw clenched. Your father's consigliere? Ethan shook his head. No, it's a private line. Guess who had access to it to prepare the wedding logistics with the DeLucas? Isabella's face drained of color. No, she wouldn't. Mateo's voice softened, but it didn't lose its firmness. Your aunt, Teresa. Isabella grabbed the back of a chair. She raised me when my mother died, and she just sent men to drag you back like cargo, Mateo said, because she thinks you belong to the deal. Isabella blinked fast, fighting tears. Why would she do that? Because she thinks like they do, Mateo said. You fix shame. You don't heal it. Ethan put the phone down. They were trying to grab her at the gate, shove her in a car, and get her on a boat. They didn't care if they left bodies. Mateo's eyes flashed cold. Then we send a message. Already on it, Ethan said. Isabella looked between them. What does that mean? Mateo looked at her like he was weighing how much to tell. Then he chose honesty. It means if we let them do this a third time, they'll keep coming. We stop it now. By killing my family? She asked, voice cracking. By making it too expensive to try again. She shook her head. This is exactly what I didn't want. He stepped closer. This is what happens when they don't listen. You're going to start a war. They already started one, he said. I'm just ending it. She stared at him, breathing hard. You don't have to do it alone. He was surprised. What? She swallowed. They need to hear it from me too. They moved to the office. Mateo had Ethan patch a secure call through a trusted contact in New York. The line connected after a long ring. A female voice answered, sharp, older, familiar. Pronto. Aunt Teresa, Isabella said. There was a pause. Isabella. Grazie a Dio, Are you hurt? You sent men to take me. Because you ran, ragazza. You don't understand what you did. You made both families lose face. We have to correct it. Isabella's eyes filled. Correct me? Bring you back. Say you were taken. Say you were scared. I wasn't scared, Isabella said, voice rising. I chose to leave. Another pause, then colder. You chose him. Isabella looked at Matteo. He didn't speak, just watched. You sent men with guns, Isabella said. They could have killed me. They were told to bring you alive. You think guns listen? Aunt Teresa sighed, annoyed. You're being emotional. I'm being alive. It's the same thing, the older woman said. Listen to me, Isabella. You will come back. There will be a new ceremony. No one will speak of this again. No. The line went quiet. What did you say? I said no, Isabella repeated. I'm not a deal. I'm not an apology. I'm not going to marry Luca to fix your pride. You don't understand how these men work, Teresa said, now truly angry. They will keep coming. I know, Isabella said. I just watch them try. Then you know you cannot stay with him. Isabella looked at Matteo. His eyes never left her. She felt something steady in her chest for the first time since the church. Yes, she said, voice firm now. I can. You will regret. The line cut. Matteo had ended the call. She would have kept talking in circles, he said. They won't stop through words. Isabella turned to him. Then what do? We change the board, he said. We stop running and make them come where I can control everyone. How? He walked to the window, looking out at the sea. We invite them. Her brows pulled together. Invite? We bring your father. We bring Luca's people. We show them we know who betrayed us, and we negotiate with strength, not from hiding. You think they'll come? They will, he said, because they don't want me flying back to New York angry. Is it really about anger? It's about power, he said, and right now, we have it. That evening, the villa calmed again. The guards were doubled, cameras extended, boats patrolled below. Matteo left nothing to chance. Isabella stayed in the living room, staring at the sunset over the water. She felt drained, betrayed, exposed, but she also felt chosen. No one had ever fought for her like this, not even her father, especially not her father. She heard footsteps. She didn't need to turn to know who it was. You okay? Matteo asked. She let out a breathy laugh. No. He came to stand beside her. Good. Means you're seeing clearly. She looked at him. How do you live like this? Like what? Always ready for someone to shoot you. He looked out at the water. You get used to it or you die. That's not living. That's surviving, he corrected. Living is what I used to do with you. Her heart squeezed. You remember? I remember everything. She was quiet for a beat. Then she whispered, I hate that I still love you. He turned, eyes dark and soft at the same time. I don't. Her breath caught. He stepped closer, slow, like he was afraid to spook her. I tried to love without you. It all felt fake. Even today, everything I built, all the men, all the money, none of it felt like anything until I saw you walking down that aisle for another man. You humiliated me, she said. I saved you. You didn't ask. You would have said no. She almost smiled. Maybe. He reached up, fingers brushing her cheek. You're shaking. It's a lot. I know. You turned my whole life upside down. I know. You made me choose. I know. She swallowed hard. And I choose you. For a second, he didn't move. Like he was making sure he heard it right. Like he was afraid to break the moment. Then he cupped her face with both hands and kissed her. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't wild. It was deep, claiming, full of all the years they'd lost, and all the things they hadn't said. She melted into him because her body remembered him, even when her pride didn't. He pulled her closer, one arm around her waist, holding her like he had in the church, but softer now. She clung to his shirt, pulling him down, answering the kiss like she'd been waiting since the day he vanished. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. "You have no idea what you just did," he murmured. "What?" "You just made this real," he said. "Now I have to protect you like you're mine." She smiled a little. "I already was." He kissed her again, slower this time, letting her feel safe. His hands never roamed where they shouldn't. It wasn't about lust. It was about putting them back together. When he pulled back, his voice was low. "Tomorrow will be worse. I know. They'll threaten me. I know. They'll threaten you. I know. They'll threaten to cut you off." She looked into his eyes. They already did. He exhaled, like that hurt him more than bullets. "I'm sorry." "You're the only one who didn't lie to me this time," she said. "So no, you're not." Later, in the war room, Ethan laid out the plan. "We can get Vincenzo here," he said. "He won't pass up a chance to control the narrative. Luca's father won't come, but Anthony will. He's the one trying to fix the humiliation, so he'll want to talk." "Good," Matteo said. "We bring them into a place we choose." "Here?" Ethan asked. "Yes," Matteo said, "but in the lower hall. Neutral. No weapons past the entrance. Our men only." Ethan raised a brow. "You sure you want to let Anthony walk in?" Matteo's jaw flexed. "I want him to hear me say it." "Hear what?" "That he doesn't get to send men for my woman and go home like nothing happened." Ethan smirked. "You're really doing this." "I told you," Matteo said, glancing toward the hall where Isabella had gone. "She chose. Now I do the rest." Ethan hesitated. "And if they refuse?" Matteo's eyes went cold. "Then we take their choice too." That night, Isabella couldn't sleep again. She walked to the balcony, letting the sea air cool her skin. She thought about her aunt, about Luca, about her father, about all the years she believed they were protecting her when in reality, they were deciding for her. Now Matteo was deciding for her too. But the difference was, he was willing to die for that decision. She heard the door open behind her. "You should rest," Matteo said. She turned, smiling softly. "You keep saying that. You keep not listening." She walked toward him. "You're bringing them here." "Yes." "You're not afraid they'll shoot you?" "I'm afraid they'll try to take you." She looked into his eyes. "Why do you love me like this?" He actually thought about it. "Because you never wanted me for what I had. You wanted me when I was still building. You wanted the man, not the boss." She nodded slowly. "Then don't make me watch you become only the boss." He reached for her hand. "I won't. But tomorrow, I have to be him." She squeezed his fingers. "Then I'll be there." He frowned. "No. Yes. It's not safe. It's about me." He stared at her, then swore under his breath. "You're going to kill me." She smiled. "You promised to protect me." "I did." "Then do it. With me in the room." He exhaled, gave in. "Fine. But you'll stay behind me. Always." He pulled her close again, holding her against his chest, breathing her in like she was the only calm he had left. "Tomorrow," he said quietly, "we end this." She rested her head against him. "Or start something bigger." He didn't deny it. Because tomorrow, the fathers and uncles and offended men were coming to Monaco. And Matteo Moretti was ready to tell all of them, to their faces, that Isabella Rossi was his. Monaco hadn't been this quiet since the old days of kings. By noon, 3 black cars rolled through the cliffside road toward Matteo Moretti's villa. Inside were men who had built empires from blood and fear. Vincenzo Rossi, furious and pale. Anthony De Luca, calm and calculating. And a few of their guards who had been told to keep it civil. But there was nothing civil about what was coming. Inside the villa, Matteo waited in the lower hall. He wore a black suit, no tie, hands clasped behind his back. Ethan stood beside him, scanning the cameras. Every guard knew his post. Every weapon was in its place, though Matteo had ordered none to be visible. He didn't need to show strength. He was strength. Isabella walked down the stairs slowly, dressed in a soft cream blouse and dark pants, no longer a bride, but not a prisoner either. When she reached him, Matteo turned to her. "You don't have to be here for this." "Yes, I do," she said. He hesitated. "If they touch you, they won't. Not while you're breathing." That almost made him smile. "Stay behind me." She shook her head. "No, beside you." The sound of engines stopped outside. A door slammed. Voices. Then footsteps. The men entered the villa. The first to appear was Vincenzo Rossi, tall and furious, followed by Anthony De Luca, expression unreadable. 2 guards waited by the door as ordered. The tension was thick enough to taste. "Matteo," Vincenzo began, his tone cold as steel, "you dishonored both families." Matteo's reply was calm. "I prevented a lie. You kidnapped my daughter." She walked out on a deal she never agreed to. "She embarrassed us." She saved herself. Vincenzo's face turned red. "You think you can take her and call it love? You think you can build peace on humiliation?" Matteo took a step forward. "I think I can build peace on truth. And the truth is, your people sold her future for your convenience." Anthony De Luca's voice entered, smooth but sharp. "You talk too much, Moretti. Maybe you forget whose blood keeps your business flowing." Matteo looked at him. "I don't forget. I just don't bow." Anthony smirked. "Then bow your head now before I break it for you." Ethan stepped forward. "Careful. The last man who tried that is still missing." Anthony ignored him. "You made a mess, Matteo. My nephew's humiliated. My men bled on your lawn. You owe us." Matteo's voice dropped. "I owe you nothing." Anthony leaned closer. "You will, when I take her back." That was the wrong thing to say. Matteo moved before anyone could blink, one hand around Anthony's throat, pushing him back against the wall, voice low and lethal. "You send men after her again," Matteo said, "and I will bury them where the sea forgets names. You understand?" Ethan didn't move. Neither did the guards. Even Vincenzo froze. Matteo wasn't bluffing, and everyone knew it. Anthony's face reddened, but Matteo let him go. The older man stumbled, coughing, straightening his suit. "This isn't over," he hissed. "Yes," Matteo said. "It is." Vincenzo finally spoke again, trying to regain control. "You think this violence will fix anything? You think taking her will make her yours?" Matteo didn't answer. Instead, he turned to Isabella. "Tell him." She blinked. "What?" "Tell them," he said quietly. "Tell them what you want." Her father's eyes went to her. "Isabella, enough of this madness. Come home." She looked at him, the man who'd built her world and never asked if she liked it. "No." Vincenzo froze. "No? I'm not coming back," she said, voice trembling but strong. "You've used my life to clean your mistakes. I've had enough. You're confused." "I'm finally not," she cut in. "You arranged a marriage for me. You let people chase me with guns. You cared more about respect than your own daughter." He swallowed hard. "Everything I did was to protect you." She shook her head. "No, Papa. Everything you did was to protect your empire." Silence. Anthony laughed once, humorless. "She's got fire. Shame it's wasted on him." Matteo's glare shut him up instantly. Vincenzo took a slow breath. "You'd throw away your family for him?" "I'm not throwing anything away," she said. "I'm choosing a killer. Choosing a man who never lied to me." Matteo's chest rose, his jaw tight. Her words hit harder than any bullet. Vincenzo's voice softened, almost pleading. "You'll regret this. I already regret believing you'd ever see me as more than a name on a contract." He looked like he wanted to say more, but the truth had already taken the room. Ethan placed a folder on the table. "Before you decide to start another war, you should see this." Anthony frowned. "What is it?" Matteo spoke. "Proof of the leak. Every message, every payment. Teresa Rossi sent the coordinates that brought men to my door." Vincenzo's face went pale. "That's impossible." "See for yourself," Matteo said. Anthony grabbed the papers first, scanned them, then tossed them back. "If that's true, she acted without our approval." Matteo's tone sharpened. "Then say it here, out loud." Anthony stared at him. Then, fine, she's done. No protection, no retaliation. Vincenzo didn't speak. He couldn't. The betrayal hit too close. Matteo turned to him. You see, I didn't come here to burn bridges. I came to make sure you stop sending soldiers for your daughter. And what do you want in return? Vincenzo asked bitterly. You want to keep her? I don't keep her, Matteo said. She stays if she wants. He looked at Isabella again, voice steady but softer. Do you? The room went quiet. Everyone watched her. Isabella took a breath that shook. She thought of her childhood dinners full of silence and rules, of Luca's polite smile, of Matteo's chaos, his danger, his impossible love. Then she said clearly, Yes, I stay. Anthony muttered a curse. Vincenzo looked down, defeated. Matteo reached for her hand. Then that's your answer. Vincenzo finally looked up at them. If you walk out with him now, you are no longer a Rossi. She smiled sadly. Then I guess my name changes today. Matteo turned to the men. This meeting is over. Anthony glared. You think you've won, Moretti? Matteo gave a small, cold smile. I think I finally stopped losing. They left. The cars drove away. The gates closed. And for the first time in weeks, silence didn't feel dangerous anymore. Matteo stood in the courtyard watching the taillights disappear. Isabella came up beside him, sliding her hand into his. They'll come around, she said quietly. He shook his head. They don't forgive. They forget. Then let them forget us. He looked at her, really looked, and there it was. Peace. Not perfect, not eternal, but real. You know, he said softly, you just declared war on half of New York. She smiled. Then I'll learn to shoot. He laughed under his breath, the first real laugh in a long time, and pulled her against him. She fit like she always had. I'll protect you, he said. I know, she whispered, but you'll let me protect you too. He kissed her forehead. Deal. That night, the villa was quiet, except for the sound of the sea. No guards shouting, no phones ringing. Just two people sitting on the balcony, finally still. You could have died for me, she said. I would have, he replied. You still might. He looked at her. If I do, it won't be for guilt. It'll be because you were worth it. She smiled, eyes wet. You really don't know when to stop talking like a movie. He smirked. You love it. She laughed softly. I do. He brushed his thumb across her cheek. Then marry me. She froze. What? Not for peace, not for the families, for us. She stared at him. You're serious. As serious as a man who already lost you once. Tears slipped down her face. I don't have a dress. Good, he said. I hate weddings. She laughed through her tears. And my father? Won't be invited. He kissed her then, the kind of kiss that said everything words couldn't. It wasn't about danger anymore. It was about home. When he pulled back, he whispered against her lips. You're safe now, Isabella. She smiled. No, Matteo. We're both free. Weeks later, headlines in New York whispered about new alliances, quiet truces, and a mysterious peace dinner between three old families. No one mentioned the girl who'd chosen love over loyalty. But in Monaco, Matteo and Isabella walked the markets hand in hand, anonymous among strangers. Sometimes people turned to look at them, a tall man with dark eyes and a woman who looked like she'd been through fire and come out glowing. He'd buy her flowers she didn't need. She'd roll her eyes and keep them anyway. And every now and then, when she teased him about barging into her wedding like a lunatic, he'd grin and say, It worked, didn't it? She'd shake her head, smiling. You really didn't let me marry him. And he'd kiss her hand, answer softly, Never will. A mafia boss who stopped a wedding, a woman who chose her own heart, and a love strong enough to rewrite every rule. If you enjoy stories like this, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. That's how I'll know you truly liked it. Even if you're watching on your TV, Grab a second to join this family of fans who love emotional and heartfelt stories. Your support means everything, and it helps us bring you even more tales like this one.